Hello guys and welcome. Today we are going to be talking about equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. So this is a big algebra lesson. This is why we went back and we reviewed a little bit on the maintaining mathematical proficiencies when we did page 123 earlier. So we did all of that to prepare, review, get some stuff in your minds about writing equations and be thinking about this process here. So we're going to be writing equations of your parallel and perpendicular lines. So there's just three different forms here to look at. We've got standard form where we've got ax plus by equals c. A, b, and c are typically numbers. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where we can read off your slope and your y-intercept. And then point-slope form is y minus, and then y1 is the y-coordinate of a point, and then equals m, where that is the slope. And remember, it's x minus what x1 is. So that's the x-coordinate of the point. All right, so some people like point-slope form, some people like slope-intercept form. We're just going to go through a couple examples today, so I highly recommend that you go to the screen and you stop, you pause the video, you think about this, you do this on your own, and then come back and replay the video so that you're giving it a try. And then your homework today should be asking more questions on this kind of stuff. Okay, so what are we doing here? We're writing the equation of a line of the perpendicular bisector of PQ. So we've got P and we've got Q, and what we're really trying to do is write the equation of this blue line so that it comes down perpendicular and that this is going to be the midpoint. So if we're going to write the equation of this blue line, we need a point for sure on this blue line. We need a point and we need the slope. So we need the slope of the blue line. All right, well, can we find either one of those things based on given the information of knowing what PQ is? What do we know very specific about that point? That point is the midpoint of PQ. So we already went over and we found out how to find the midpoint of something. We add up the two x values and divide by 2. We add up the two y values and divide by 2. So negative plus 4 is 0 divided by 2. So it looks like we're just going to get 0, comma. 3 plus a negative 1, so that's a positive 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So it looks like this point for sure on that blue line is going to be that ordered pair 0, 1. Well, the next thing we need is to find the slope because we need y equals blank x plus blank. So we're looking for slope and y-intercept. So in here, we're going to find our slope. So how can we find the slope? Well, my plan is I'm going to find the slope of PQ. So remember that is change in y over change in x. So my y values, so it's 3 minus a negative 1, and then the x values are going to be negative 4 minus 4. So 3 minus a negative 1 looks like 4. Negative 4 minus 4 is a negative 8. So it looks like that I am getting the slope of negative 1/2. So the slope of PQ is negative 1/2. Well, now if we're going to find the blue line, remember that is going to be perpendicular. So we're going to do the opposite, meaning opposite sign, and the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of this is going to be 2 over 1. So it looks like my slope, because this is negative, this is positive, so my slope is going to be 2. Now, some of you might recognize what the y-intercept is, because remember, if we're talking about the y-intercept, the x value is going to be 0. So some of you can just put that 1 in there. If you don't recognize that, we have an x and a y value. So in place of y, I'm going to put a 1. In place of x, I have a 0, and I'm going to solve for my y-intercept. Well, I have 1 equals, and 2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus b is just going to be b, so my y-intercept is 1. So again, some of you might have recognized it from the point, some of you might plug it in. Doesn't matter, it's going to take you a little longer, but you still get there. So here is the equation of that blue line. It is perpendicular to that purple line. So first you had to find the midpoint, because we absolutely positively know that that midpoint is going to be a point on the blue line. And then we use the slope of PQ to find the slope of that blue line because they're perpendicular, so we use the opposite reciprocals. All right, so I think this was the same thing, and if you wanted to graph it out and figure it out, you could, but just know that on these assignments, we give you problems that are going to work out, or some of them are going to have fractions in them. So you can't just always rely on the graph. I need you to be able to do this algebraically. So you have to do it algebraically, because if not, then what happens is I make up problems on the test and quiz that are all fractions, and you wouldn't be able to figure them out by graphing them, because it would be, well, is it 1/3? Is it 1/4? Is it 1/6? Like, I don't know. So please, please, please make sure you are showing all of your work algebraically. All right, so the second example problem that we're going to do here is they want to find the distance from the point 1, 0. So we have a point, and it is 1, 0, and we have a line. So they want to know the distance from that point to that line. Well, we know that that distance is going to be something that is going to come down here, and it has to be perpendicular. Okay, so it has to be perpendicular. So can we find the equation of that red line? If we can find the equation of that red line, and then we have the equation of the blue line, this is why we went over systems, because if I have an equation of two different lines, I can find the point that they're meeting at. And once I know what this point is that they're meeting at, then I can use my distance formula. So what I first need to do is find out the equation of that red line. So I'm going to find out the equation of my red line. So I need y equals mx plus b. Y equals blank x plus blank. All right, so what do I absolutely know for sure about that red line? Let's see, it is perpendicular to the blue line. And what is the slope of this blue line? The slope of this blue line is a -1. So if the slope of the blue line is a -1, what is the slope of the red line? Well, remember, we're going to do the opposite reciprocal. So if you flip one, you get 1, but we need the positive. So it looks like the slope of that red line is going to be 1. Now, what is a point that we absolutely know is on this? Now, you cannot say that this y-intercept is 1. Remember, in that last example, it was 0, 1, so that the x value was 0. Here, we're going to substitute the x value and the y value, so it looks like we have 0 equals 1 times 1 plus b. So I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides, so it looks like my y-intercept is going to be a -1. So I have this red equation that is y equals x minus 1, and I have this blue equation of y equals minus x plus 3. So this is a system of equations here. So now if I find the intersection of that red line and blue line, I will then know this point right here. That's what I'm after right now. I need that point so that I can do my distance formula and find the length of that red line. So it looks like I can kind of do elimination here, and I can just add these up because my x's are going to cancel and eliminate. So it looks like I get 2y equals -1 plus 3 is 2. Divide both sides by 2, so it looks like y is 1. So in my ordered pair here, I'm going to get something 1. So now I'm going to put this y value in here as 1. I'm just going to plug it into the red equation because that x value is positive. So I have 1 equals x minus 1. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So it looks like x is 2. So this ordered pair right here, that point, is 2, 1. Well, now I can use these 2 points right here to find the distance. So remember, to find the distance, I'm going to do 1 minus 2 quantity squared. Take your x values and subtract them and square it. And then 0 minus 1 quantity squared. So what do we have? 1 minus 2 is going to be a negative 1. And make sure you have parentheses around that and square it so that you get the right sign. And 0 minus 1 quantity squared. So it looks like I'm going to have 1 plus 1. So it looks like I'm going to have the square root of 2. So the distance from this point, 1, 0, to this line right here, that distance is going to be the square root of 2 units long. Okay, so the final answer that we're looking here is the square root of 2. So this is a huge algebra lesson here. So what did we have to do first? Is we had to write the equation of that red line that I drew in here. Then once we had the equation of that red line, then we had to follow and use the system of equations to solve and find an ordered pair. And then we had to use the distance formula. All right, so good luck with all of this information, and review and watch the video if you guys have any questions, or email me. I'll be happy to help. All right, good luck.